Before we get started, I got to give a little shout out to Hafty. Hafty is the perfect layering shirt for women. It adds a sleeve and a neckline to all of your sleeveless tops, dresses, and jumpers and allows you to wear all of today's fashions without all the extra bulk and heat, but you get to do it modestly. So I've actually got one on. This is our brand new ruche sleeve, cuts off right here. It is perfect for this maxi dress and just gives me a more modest coverage, but it also lets me extend my wardrobe all year round. Go ahead and use Her Layered Life to save 15% off your first purchase. Go check us out at hafty.com. Welcome to Her Layered Life, where faith, family, business, and the power of her influence come together. Because her life is layered and her influence can change the world. If you've ever found yourself hustling hard but wondering, why does this still feel so heavy? Today's episode is for you. My guest is someone I know and love deeply, Allyson Chavez. She's a prosperity coach, speaker, and author of The Prosperity Approach. But beyond the title, she's the woman who helped me slow down, reconnect to my divine feminine energy, and reimagine success through peace instead of pressure. I've worked with Allyson as my personal and business coach for nearly a year now. Actually, that's a lie, nearly 2 years now. And before that, I took her Rise program, which changed the way I show up to my business, my home, and my faith. Allyson is an incredible woman, and I've loved learning from her, developing new skills, shifting my mindset, and gaining powerful insight into what it really means to lead with feminine energy as a woman, especially as a woman in the grind of everyday entrepreneurship. She helps women create wealth with joy and ease, grounded in faith and divine alignment. Today, we're going behind the scenes of how she built not just a business, but a belief system rooted in faith, flow, and feminine power. Welcome, Allyson.
Amanda, thank
She's
you.
actually been here for an hour because we shot 2 podcasts today and we just had like a hash out session. I wish we could have done, I told Princess we should have just recorded all of that, like Her Layered Life Unhinged.
Oh, absolutely.
It
That
was like
so fun.
gems of information.
Yes, it was. It was great.
So Allyson is here with me today. And I asked, how long ago did I mean, right when it started,
Yeah.
right? Right when I started, I said,
right when I
Allyson, you're coming on a podcast. And I think she's like, you have a podcast? And I was like, I do now.
No, I think I remember saying, why is it taking you so long to put the
That's actually
podcast
exactly
going?
what she said. I just don't want to say that because then Princess is like, I told you so. And it's actually one of her favorite things to say. So she's right there. She's just saying, I told you so. Anyways, Allyson, you didn't start out as a prosperity coach.
I did not.
You've
Mm-mm.
shared before that your journey began in a season of deep struggle, financially, emotionally, and spiritually. Can you take us back to that moment? And what was life like before the prosperity approach existed?
Oh, wow. Um, Typical, I think, of many entrepreneurs and anybody who's working toward a goal. I subscribe to the struggle. I subscribe to the grind. I subscribed to I've got to scale this mountain, and I'm probably going to fall off the mountain because I'm most likely not enough. And so, it was all of that clutter and chatter going on in my mind. And it was interesting because when I got started, I was just doing like the energy sessions with people, just one off, and as people kept coming back for the same kind of issues, I was like, I need to teach them some skills. I think I need to teach them mindset. I think I need to teach them like how God's laws actually work so that they're not like running into walls all the time. And so it just sort of mushroomed from there. But I was so afraid. I had this belief that I wasn't enough and I didn't actually make a difference in the world. And that flavors everything. It seeps into every single part of your life. And I found that the company grew, but the more it grew, the higher my anxiety ratcheted. And then the company started to fall. And so like I started to work harder, and the harder I worked, the faster that thing fell. And like I felt like we were in this financial free fall for like 2 years.
Mm.
We really we really were. And I was holding on for dear life and just in high levels of anxiety, flinging mud against the wall, hoping some of it will stick. I felt desperate. I felt like God had abandoned me and, all of those things. And when it finally like crashed, I think I had 6 clients and we were pumping more money into the company every month than we were making from the company. I had this really, really beautiful moment actually when I stopped beating myself up and I had this moment of clarity and it was, "Oh my word, look what I created and I didn't mean to."
Hmm.
I wonder what I could create if I actually meant to, if I was more deliberate and more intentional about it. So I set down the beat up stick of "you're not enough and you're the world's biggest loser and you're a screw up." Like I set that down. And I really felt like when I had that moment of clarity that God was like, "All right, suit her up, get her on the field. She's ready to play.
Hmm.
Like now we can work with this." And it wasn't what I realized through that whole experience is that it wasn't like God was like standing by with his arms folded and just tapping his toe, waiting for me to finish my tantrum. He was like, I can't get in to guide you. It's too loud in your head.
Hmm.
It's too loud. You've got too much anxiety going on. You've got too much, you're blaming yourself, you're victimizing yourself over and over and over again. And it's so loud in there. If you'll just go still, then I can guide you. And when I finally went still, that was when he guided me. He taught me 3 things very, very quickly. He taught me how subconscious programs actually work and how to uninstall and reinstall new ones. He taught me how money actually works, energetically and more on a universal kind of a way, aside from budgets and things. And then he taught me about feminine energy and how to really lead with that. And within 6 months, we went from beyond broke to we made almost $250,000 cash in the bank.
Hmm.
In 6 months, I grew my company from 6 clients to 97. And I wasn't in grind and I wasn't in push. I was in pleasure. I was in play. I was absolutely working. I wasn't just like, okay, I'm gonna own my way to this or like
Um,
vision board my way to this. But suddenly it was like there was no more pressure. There was no pressure. There was peace and there was play. And everything just exploded. I lost 45 pounds in 4 months from it. I healed my relationship with my 4 kids, with my husband, like, everything changed. And that's when it became so clear to me, God was like, "You need to teach other women how to do this." And that's where it really went from a business to a movement.
so the way I met Allison was a friend of mine actually took, so when it moved from, because you got to get me to where I met you. So
Mhm.
at what point did I meet you at, what was it called? Was it the Prosperity Approach? What did Alicia
It
invite
was
me
called the
to?
feminine factor.
Yes, that's what it was called, the
Mhm,
Feminine Factor. So I
mhm.
actually got invited by a friend of mine that I play basketball with. Her name's Alicia Harris. And she had reached out several times and said, just come, just try it. And I went and I loved it. And I was really, really, really intrigued by the femininity side of things, particularly because I mean, Allison knows this about me, but when you're in the grind of entrepreneurship, but you're also an athlete, you get so stuck all the time in all of this masculine
Oh, yeah.
energy all the time. And so I was really fascinated in how to lead and how to live in more of a feminine energy. And so, anyways, but take me, so when I met you, take me from like the little steps getting to there, because I don't know the pre story. Does that make
It
sense?
well, that was pretty much what it was.
Is that
It
when I
it was
met you? Was
just
in that six
it was
months of,
no, it was probably a couple of years after that.
oh, okay.
And it was like, "Oh, I wanna expand this more. I want more women to come in for an event where we can really experience it together, and they can see what it is that I'm talking about, and really because because people mistake feminine energy for, like, femininity and girlishness, and
Uh-huh.
that's not actually what it is at all.
Uh-huh.
And so that's where you and I then met, where I had created the Rise Up program, the Ascend program, which is really just like how do all of these different pieces actually click together in this beautiful puzzle of our life where things will just make sense. What's my part? What's God's part? What is the difference between masculine energy and feminine energy? And we're not going to villainize the masculine and we're not going to these are 2 energies of creation that need to work together and they work together in balance and in harmony. And when we pull back the curtain and we see how simple actually all of the pieces of life and success, how they actually flow together, and they're really simple tools to use to create your life. It takes so much pressure, takes so much pressure off of us.
So tell me a little bit about one of my favorite things is we're because I want to get into this a little bit, but one of my favorite analogies that you used at the feminine factor. I think I emailed you this about this because I
Mhm,
love it so much.
mhm.
But it's the how do you describe the feminine energy versus the masculine energy in river content? Because
Yes.
it's so easy for it was so easy for me to finally understand the differences in that one visual that you gave
Mhm.
with that.
Yeah, so the riverbank analogy, and
Yeah,
this was something that I was taught. So masculine energy is like the riverbank, and feminine energy is the river. If you only have feminine energy, if you only have the river, but no riverbanks, no guards to help direct it, you don't actually have a river. You don't actually have flow. What you have is a floodplain, and it leaves destruction in its wake. But if you only have a riverbank and you have no river, then there's no purpose for the riverbank. So they need both of them together. And if you have too much of a riverbank, if you have your riverbank too high, too deep, too wide, it chokes off the river. So we need structure, we need systems, we need all of that support in order for life to flow. And feminine energy is the life energy. It's it and the masculine is the container that allows the feminine to be so, so powerful. Because if we've got the right oh, perimenopause for the win. The word is gone, but
component?
if you have the right balance between
Okay.
masculine and feminine, if you've got the right amount of a riverbank with the right amount of the river, um, then you've got direction, you've got power, you've got flow. It creates life. It sustains everything along its way rather than choking it so that there's no life. And we know we're in too much masculine because our soul feels like it wants to die. And we know we're in too much feminine because we're not getting anything done and we're just lottie dying
Yeah.
all the time. So we need to have a really beautiful balance between those 2.
And I loved the visual too when you kind of because it's not about masculinity is a bad thing.
Mm-mm, it's not.
But the beautiful part that it helped me really understand too was the roles of men and women within society
Mhm.
and more on a molecular level for me, men and women in our relationships with one another. And that our husband's job is the bank, literally. JK.
There's so many layers to that.
I didn't mean that, but kinda did, right? But tell I just want you to kind of expand on that, like, in our roles in society as men and women, how that really works so beautifully together and why that analogy even works at that molecular level. Well, I
S
feel like energy is molecular, I didn't mean that, but more like in our roles as humans.
Yeah,
Is it
so first let me say every person has both masculine and feminine energy in them inherent. Those are the 2 energies of creation. So we all have them. And so I don't wanna confuse gender roles or stereotypes, and yet men men generally have more masculine in them than feminine, and women generally have more feminine energy than masculine in them. And this is just encoded in us. This is wired in our cells. And so that's why we hear men about being the protector and the provider. Men really like structure. They for the most part, they really like predictability. They love to provide that because they are so enamored by the feminine because the feminine is the expression, it's the joy, it's the life, it's the dream, it's the vision. And so um, I like to say I'm the kite and my husband is the kite string. Not that because the string is actually what keeps the kite in the air,
Mhm.
and he loves to see me fly, and he loves to see me soar through the air with my dreams and what do I want to do with our family and what we want to do with the business and with us as a couple and all of those things. And so the woman brings like the lifeblood to that a whole relationship with her enthusiasm, with her joy, with her and many times we're completely shamed by that in society when
Mhm.
we're like, you're too enthusiastic or you're too exuberant or whatever that is, you're too sensual, and sensual is just your senses.
Mhm.
And so when we can have when it's okay for a man to be masculine and it's okay for a woman to be feminine, they come together so, so beautifully because he can give her a structure and a support so that she doesn't feel like she's just flying off the rails all the
Mhm.
time. But also, like, he loves that. The man loves to see his woman just express herself
Mhm.
in her authenticity.
I like to I we talk a lot about this, and we've talked about this before, but I really feel like the word for it is to create, right?
Mhm.
When, like, we really are women are the creators of life,
Mhm.
literally,
Yes.
right? And
Mhm.
so but it's not just I mean, it's not just because the creation of life is the point. But I see a lot of times, you'll hear husbands always say, "Why do you care if the house looks like that? Why do you care if the furniture matches? Why do you need my favorite? Why do you need pillows on your bed?" But I do think that even in those simplest forms, we really are showing up to create. We are
Yes.
showing up to beautify. We are with that instinctual femininity that we have. It is important to us to create environments that are beautiful and that are feminine almost to a certain extent.
Absolutely, absolutely, like, we need the bookcase, we do, we can't just, like, put the vase on air, like, we can't, we need the bookcase, we need the structure, but it is all about the environment, it's about the atmosphere, it's about the energy that is brought to that space. So beauty is inherently feminine, inherently, and beauty actually connects us with heaven. And so that's why we love the pillows. That's why we love the pop of color. We love the movement in the room that the vase or the flowers, that the space that they'll hold. And a lot of people can't put a finger on it. They're just like, I just feel like I can exhale when I'm here. And,
Mhm.
like, it just feels so wonderful. And then you go to, like, a warehouse, and it's very, you've got the aisles, and you've got the structure, and you've got the the frameworks, and the bare piping, and all of that, and it's functional.
Yes.
It's functional, and we really appreciate that. But is it a place where you're like, "Oh, my soul just took a breath here"?
Yeah.
No, like, you go to Costco, you go to Sam's Club, you get in and you get out
Right,
because
right.
there's not a whole lot of, like, except the pillow section. There's not a whole lot of life there, right? And
Right.
s but they're there to complement each other, and so when men can understand, like, this just brings my soul to life, and it just helps me, it literally helps me to create the atmosphere that I want our children and us as a couple to thrive in together. When he understands the purpose behind it, he's like, "Oh, oh, okay, cool,
Yeah,
cool, just tell him what the purpose is."
I love it. I love it. That was such a powerful lesson that I learned. And I came home and I was like, "Ty, I get it now. Like, you're the bank of the river. Like, you're the structure, you're the support, you're the whatever. And I'm the river. Like, I'm flowing. Like, it's normal that I like 12 pillows on my bed. Like, that's part of my job but I just love, love, love that. That moment where everything feels, and going back to kind of that the whole financial ups and downs
Oh,
and
yeah.
and the struggle of, and I know we kinda took a little bit of a sideshow, but I wanna get us kinda a little bit back on, where we first started. What like, I like to call them, like, Eve moments where we finally make we make a decision, it's scary, but that moment when the Lord just says, "Hey, you finally slowed down long enough, and you got a decision to make. You can keep doing what you're doing. You can keep or you can walk with me and we can make a decision together." And in that moment, were more lives than just your own changed. So it was more than just the finances, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah, oh,
what
yeah. It was just, this isn't who I am. This is not like the life that I signed up for, and I didn't and I didn't mean to create this. I'm a really, really powerful creator. We all are, but most of us, we create by default because of the programs that were installed when we were very little, that we came with, the programs of scarcity, in all of its forms, the survival programs, the fear programs, like all of that. And it was just, there's a saying that says, when the pain of staying the same becomes greater than the pain of change, that's when you'll change.
Hmm.
And that's what I hit.
Hmm.
Was like, this is not me. Being 5'2" and 170 pounds, being fluffy and squishy is not actually who I am, and it's not how I want to express.
Mhm.
And I want to feed my body things that actually give it life. And I want to learn more about.
We have baby. This is a perfect explanation, or this is a perfect moment of layers. So Allison is a grandma, and she's watching and tending her sweetest little baby boy grandson. So he's over in the corner where you can't see him, and we're trying to keep him happy. But this really, I mean, this is like, Allison's like, I have the baby. I'm like, bring the baby. That's what it's all about. Like different seasons of life.
When the pain of staying the same is
Yes.
greater than the pain of change.
Mhm.
And I was like, this is not who I am, and this is not where I am meant to be. God created me to thrive. He created me in his image. He created all of this beautiful earth for me to explore. And so what is my part and what is his part? And then getting really, really clear, because I think, and I know from my own experience and working with hundreds of clients over the years, that we try to do God's part, and God's part is the how. And then we get super tangled up in the how of everything.
Mhm.
And we get very committed to the how, and then defeated instantly by the how, because like, I don't know how.
Yeah.
If I knew how, I would have already done it by
Right.
now. I have no idea how. But God didn't ask us to commit to the how. He asked us to commit to the vision, that thing that lights us up. He asked us to commit to the desire, and then to let him guide us. And so when I did that, it was very interesting, because I didn't set out to change my family. I didn't set out to change.
Hmm.
I definitely wanted to change our finances, but more importantly, I just want to feel peace.
Right.
I wanted to feel peace. I wanted to wake up in peace and not in pieces.
Oh.
And that was my only agenda. My agenda was to feel good again.
Hmm.
That's it.
Hmm.
And when I didn't care about the money and didn't care about like how it all came, but I learned to trust more and more as God was guiding me. Oh, that's when life got really, really fun
Hmm.
and really juicy.
What's the book? It's not blank, but how? What is that book? I read it.
It's who, not how.
Yeah,
Is that what it
it's
is?
not who, or it's
It's not.
not how,
It's not how. It's who.
it's who. And
Mhm.
and so often we think we've got to do it all, and most of the
Yeah.
time it's not how we're going to get it done, but who is out there that already knows how to do it.
Mhm.
And the who is God. Not that he's going to be the one that does it all. I mean, he does ultimately do it all, but it's not like God's going to walk through the door and start running your Facebook ads, or God's not going to walk
Oh
through the door
man,
and start
please.
like, you know,
Yeah,
that's not what I mean, but the who are the people that God sends into our
yes.
lives, that is
Yes.
based on his timing, on his perfect way of doing things. And you're right. We cannot get caught up in that, because when we do, we just grind ourselves straight into the ground, because
Yes.
we really are we're really outstepping what we're really accountable for.
Mhm.
I
Mhm.
love it. So that moment where everything feels like it's crumbling, those are often the moments God starts whispering. And you mentioned that when you calmed your mind down, and when you started to really, it's almost like everything had to just plop onto the
I
ground.
did.
Yeah.
I did.
And that cleanse was a little bit of a time where that's when God was able to really start get in there and work with you.
Yes. Much more effectively. I had tied his hands behind his back.
Hmm.
I really had. I wasn't obeying universal laws, and God is a just God, and he has laws that have a penalty attached if you don't obey the law, and have a reward attached if you do obey the law. That's how he can remain an impartial God.
Hmm.
And he doesn't play favorites. But he favors but he favors those through the universe that he set up and the laws that he created that govern the universe. And the main universal law is the law of harmony and balance.
Mm.
And so when we'll start obeying those laws, there's just a natural reward that is attached to obeying those laws. And then God's like, okay, now I can teach you more. And now we can go deeper because you can handle this. So let me show you more
I
about how this universe is created and what I have in mind for you.
love it. I love it. Okay. So many of us were raised to believe that sex.
Oh, this conversation has gotten really interesting now. I'm here for it.
Sorry. So success, that's what I'm trying to say. So many of us were raised to believe that success requires sacrifice and struggle. When you first started teaching that it doesn't have to be hard, did people believe you? This
No.
is funny that I'm the one asking this question. She's probably looking at me. You probably want to say, well, did you?
I think I remember a little bit of pushback from you about that. Actually, there was a time I remember reaching out to different experts in the field, and I wanted to interview them about success without struggle. And one of them wrote back and was like, "No, because there success requires a whole lot of struggle." And basically people who were teaching otherwise are just setting up their followers for failure or whatever. And I was like, "Oh, you subscribe to a different belief system
Mm.
from mine." Do I think that there is sacrifice involved? Actually, yes, actually there absolutely is. Sacrifice is one of the universal laws, but it's not the kind of sacrifice that we've been taught sacrifice is. So really fast, we have to sacrifice our fear. We have to sacrifice our doubt. We have to sacrifice our laziness. We have to sacrifice these limiting beliefs that make us feel like we're not enough. Like those are the things that we have to sacrifice. And sometimes we do sacrifice sleep because we've got so many amazing ideas and they just won't stop. So there is some sacrifice involved, but not what we've been taught. Struggle. I think struggle is a choice. I really do, and as I thought more about that, and as I was really fleshing out the prosperity approach with success without struggle, I thought it because I am very clear that I don't wanna lead people astray, and I wanna make sure that I am teaching truth to people, and can they take this to the bank? And, a memory popped into my mind of when I was like, oh, probably 5 or 6, and I was in my pajamas and I wanted to go outside and play with one of my friends, and so
Mhm.
my mom said, "Well, you gotta get dressed first." And I was like, "Okay." So I remember going downstairs and putting on a red striped T-shirt,
Mm.
except in my hurry, I didn't get the shirt on right. I was trying to squeeze my head through the sleeve, I had my arm going out the neck hole, and I had this little thought of like, just take the shirt off and try again. And I was like, no, no, I can figure this out. So the shirt gets tighter and I start panicking, like, I'm going to die here. I'm going to suffocate and die. And instead of, there was just something that came over. It was just like, take a breath, take the shirt off, you know, turn it around, put it on right. And when I did that, it took 3 seconds maybe. And then off I was to the races playing with my friends. I had struggled with that, and it was not necessary. The more I struggled, the tighter that shirt got.
Mm.
So if I just took a breath, once I took a breath and stepped back and just like, okay, like turn this thing around and we're okay. And I was like, oh, that's what struggle is. That's what struggle is. The struggle is the yeah buts. The struggle is this is probably not going to work. And here's all the reasons why it's not going to work. And the struggle is the circumstance that we find ourselves in, right? But the struggle is a choice. We choose into struggle. Now, as we are growing and as we're building our families, ourselves, our empires, like whatever that is that just lights our soul on fire but feels impossible to our mind, is there challenge? Yeah. Yeah, for sure, for sure. But don't we get completely lit up by challenge? I mean, don't we say challenge accepted all the time
Mhm.
when somebody like, "You bet you can't do that," you know?
Mhm.
Like, my kids, like, do that all the time, "Challenge accepted, mom." And so we rise to the occasion when there's challenge, but struggle just tends to defeat us, or at least me. I can only speak from my own personal experience, but the struggle just demoralized me so quickly when I would choose into it. So I think struggle is a choice, absolutely.
Tell me a little bit. You keep bringing up limited beliefs. Tell
Mm.
me a little bit. Just, I know this is Allison and when you work with Allison, you actually spend a ton of time on things like our limited beliefs, but quickly as I mean, as necessary, but
Okay.
not to lose the essence of it because it's an important principle. A lot of times we have to sacrifice our limited beliefs, and we are
Mhm.
so wrapped into our limited beliefs that, and I speak from my own personal experience, is that one of my limited beliefs is that in order for me to have anything, I have to work really, really, really hard for it. And unless I'm working really, really, really hard for it, it's never going to happen. And so you've had to work with me a lot on changing that mentality.
Mhm.
Not that life doesn't require and success doesn't require work, but a lot of times, again, that is going back to we actually that connects us better to God. If I work harder and better and more, then God's gonna love me more and bless me more, right? And that's false.
That is
That's a very
false.
fake narrative
It
that
is.
I think a lot of us fall into. But going back to limited beliefs, just kind of talk a little bit about that.
The thing that changed my entire mindset about beliefs and belief work is that beliefs are nothing more than decisions. But these are decisions we've made about how life works for us, how money works for us, how relationships work for us, decisions about something. And we get conditioned in our beliefs when we are very young. We bring some of our beliefs with us into this life that we've inherited from our family and our ancestors. Um, and I used to think the beliefs were just so hard to change, especially those hidden subconscious beliefs. I remember hearing that and I was like, "Well, I'm screwed. They're hidden.
Mhm.
There's no way I'll be able to
Or
find them."
generational.
Or
Like
generational
that's a
beliefs.
fun one. Yeah.
Mhm, mhm. And but you can spot your belief just by listening to somebody talk about, "Oh, well, the hard thing about this is, the thing that's gonna make this impossible is, the difficult thing about this is, oh, easy come, easy go." Like, these are beliefs. People speak their beliefs all the time. And it's just it's simply a decision. And so when you decide that life is going to work for you differently now, like I decided it was gonna be easy and fun to melt 45 pounds off my body. Like, I just decided that, and I committed to that decision, not the how. And when I decided that, it was amazing the people that came into my life because that was exactly the experience that I had, that it was very easy and fun and fast to melt that weight. I decided money was the easiest thing in the world to make. And wow, it really was. So we change our mind all the time. We make different decisions all the time. I make a menu every week and I go shopping for it every week. And how often do we actually stick with the menu? Every week. I could wake up on a Tuesday, I'm like, "This is what we're having for dinner," and by Tuesday night, I'm like, "Not in the mood for that.
Right.
We're gonna have something different." We change our mind all day, every day, and it's not a big deal. And so we get to make different decisions. So and as I have grown and evolved, my brand is evolving from the prosperity approach to the obedient rebel. And the obedient rebel is somebody who obeys God's laws and breaks their own rules so that they can unlock deeper levels of perspective and peace and clarity and confidence as they are becoming the greatest version of themselves. And one of the things about breaking our rules is like, is that rule actually working for me? Like,
Hmm.
no, this rule that I have to work really, really hard to make a lot of money, like, that's a really exhausting rule. Can I just change that rule for me? Can I change the rule that, like, money comes to me in really delightful and dazzling ways as I live in my genius? Like, that's a rule I'd much rather follow than
Mhm.
the rule of I have to work really, really hard in order to get money. And so I mean, beliefs are actually very simple to change. It takes persistence. It takes some tenacity. Some of them are very, very stubborn. Um, but it's an amazing experience when you realize just how much control you really do have over your life and your circumstances.
It's pretty powerful. I know when I first started working with you, I was going through the Rise Up program, and it was simple, basic things that I do every day. But you asked us to we worked through our limiting beliefs, and then we got new libs, right? And
Yes.
what does lib stand for?
Lib stands for locking in belief systems.
Locking in belief systems. And so there is effort required because I would listen to those new libs. That was that was helping me make new decisions, of how I showed up. But I did it several times a day. I'd just be in the car listening to my new libs, but it was very powerful and I'm already a very optimistic person. I don't
Mhm,
really walk around all day like wah wah wah. But it felt lighter. Life felt lighter
mhm,
when I changed the way I showed up to life. And even though I was already very happy,
mhm,
it's like a little bit of a weight was lifted off of me that made me feel like, oh, like you said, this is more fun. This is enjoyable. This isn't a chore, which for me, working hard was actually something I actually enjoy it. Like
mhm,
I find a lot of joy in the effort of life.
mhm, mhm.
Um, but that still gets heavy. But now with my new way of, with my new libs and changing that belief system, I still can enjoy the work aspect of it, but it doesn't have to feel so heavy. And that's refreshing.
It is, isn't it?
Yeah.
And,
So that's something I've learned, and that is something that I've learned just directly from you. Is ease does not mean easy.
no.
There's there's a big difference in that, and but it does mean trust. It
Mhm.
does mean that we have to trust. For me, that's just where the faith and then the feminine energy and all of those things just kind of come together, and taking those limited beliefs and then shifting those just a smidge so that fits better into that feminine energy, but then also trusting that there are better ways to do it than what has just constantly been grinded into us
Oh, yeah.
forever.
Yeah, and ease isn't easy necessarily, but ease and flow go together.
Mhm.
And so
And that's what I learned from
yeah.
you too, because I do think we as women, we chase we chase this existence of balance. And I believe in balance, but I believe flow come or balance comes from flow, not the other way around. Like when we find flow in our lives, we actually can find balance. Because I don't think as women, I hate it when women are like, yeah, I work and I have this family and I serve and blah blah blah. I have everything. Everything is so balanced. That's that's very misconstrued because if you're at work, then you're not at home doing your home things, right? Like
Mhm,
if you're at work, you're not with your kids. So there's imbalance there. If you're at home, you shouldn't be working, right? So it's more about being able to flow through the different seasons or the different layers of our life
mhm.
that you actually feel balanced. Does that
Yes.
make sense?
Yes, yes, absolutely.
Um,
It's like it's a dance, and that's what flow allows you to do is
yes.
dance, and dance, does not mean that there's an even distribution of weight. In fact, most of the time, there is not an even distribution of weight, and I think that's what we confuse balance with an even distribution of weight. I've spent 25% of my day with my children and 25% of my day at work and 25, that
Yes.
this whole work-life balance. And it's not an equal distribution of weight. It's it's the dance. It's the dance.
I love it. I have my son is trying to show me a sign right now. I need you to know it's very hard for me to read, but I got the idea. Parent teacher conference, we can go at 3:15 through 4:15 or 6:30 to 7:15. Okay, got it. Thank you. Good job on that. Thanks for asking. um, I dance. That's I don't I mean, I'm sure you've said that before, but I do like that analogy too because you dancing is very fun when you're actually flowing and not especially with partner. I grew up country swing dancing, and it's like,
You need
yeah,
a man for that.
you have to have a good partner. In fact, it's sad, but I mean, my son has finally learned how to swing, and Tyler, but
Bless his heart.
bless his heart. But it is significantly different when I am dancing with a partner that we flow together and
Mhm,
that they aren't janky, pulling me, pushing me, swinging me. And the other thing that I just thought of too, of the importance of who's going to be the leader when you dance, right? And the man should be somebody has to choose. Generally, it's in dance, it's the man that chooses to lead. But if you're also battling between who's leading and who's following, there's a lot of dissonance in that as well that
Mhm,
makes dancing not nearly as fun as if you just resolve to, okay. And it's not a this isn't a he she thing. This is just like a more of an analogy, but
mhm.
I'm gonna maybe go more to God as if we allow him to lead in the dancing and we are partners with him, then he is better able to we find flow. We find a lot of flow in our life.
Well, and if you think about, like, to take the dance analogy a little bit farther, like, if the man is leading in dance, which the man should because the man has the structure and then he guides you across the floor.
Mhm.
He points you in the direction. He sets you up so that you can then do the beautiful spin in the air, and he
Mhm.
catches you. Like, the man knows where you're going, in this ballroom dance sort
Mhm.
of analogy. God certainly knows where he would like for you to go, so it's not like, "Give me all the control." It's, "Will you let me guide you? Will you let me point you in the right direction? Because you can really love the thing that's a hard right and you're trying to take a hard left, and, like, just let me show you because there's an amazing waterfall that you're not gonna wanna miss,
Yeah.
right? And so it's that partnership. It's that partnership on what part is mine and what part is yours.
And then that even kinda goes back to the bank versus the river, right? Where
Mhm.
when you look at ballroom dance and you look how the women are flowing
Ugh,
across the
so
floor, and
gorgeous.
that would not be able to happen without a dance partner, the male role that is leading and guiding and the strength and the protection to know you can go do those huge lifts and he's gonna catch you and it's gonna look beautiful and like, I love that ballroom analogy too, because that really is a really another good example of what it looks like for the masculine and the feminine energy to really work so beautifully well together.
Mhm. And you wouldn't want one without the other.
No.
It's just as beautiful to watch the man be graceful and flow across the
Mhm.
dance floor and set up for the lifts and the dips and the twirls and all of those things as it is to watch the woman glide across the dance floor. She couldn't do it without him, and he wouldn't want to do it without her because, like, what's the point of, like, if there's nobody in your arms to spin and you're just like, "Ta-da!"
It's so true.
We
Yeah,
need each other. We need
yeah.
each other, and
I
we have
love that.
specific and complementary roles.
I love Let's talk about building business. What did it look like to turn your message into an actual business? And was there a moment where you thought, "I cannot keep going?"
Oh, yeah, I'm in that moment right now. We're just gonna one of the characteristics of being feminine is vulnerability, so we're just gonna go
Right into it. I love it.
right there, where it's, um, like, turning this new iteration into, like, okay, what's the expression now, and who do I want to reach now, and what does the Lord want me to do right now? And it's, oh man, I got some programs that are running and I have what I didn't have before when, like, my business exploded. And so like my business is in a rebuild similar to yours. Um and what I d- the extra layer of complication I did not have before that I have now is perimenopause,
Hmm.
where I can't sleep and I lose words and I lose my mind. and, and we laugh to keep from weeping, but I'm telling you,
It's real.
I
It's
will
real.
watch some reels and I'm like, ha ha ha, oh, that's so true. And it hurts so badly. And so now, like, I'm in a different season of life and my body is doing different things and my brain is firing in different ways. And it's really like, honestly, the last 2 years have been uh, forcing me to slow down, because I was working myself into the hospital and I was like, "Nah, this is not sustainable for me or for my family." And so there are a lot of moments where I'm like, "I can't do this. Can I just get a job at the library? I really like to read."
Can I go work for somebody, please?
Yes, I battle that, like, every 2 hours. And we're just gonna that's, like, how it is sometimes as an entrepreneur
Sure.
and as a business owner, and yet and God's like, "Yeah, yeah, actually you can. If that's gonna make you feel safe and if that's gonna make you feel secure right now, that's really great, but you also know this is your path, right?" And I'm like, Yes, I do. Yes, I do. So what am I what's the learning now? What's the learning now? Who do I need to be and who do I need to become in order for the movement to take fire, in order to grow my business once again, in order to have the impact that I really want to have. And it's a lot of rest and it's so much trust and it's a lot of letting go, a lot of surrender with that. And, like, I'm in the trenches. I'm in the trenches right now, Amanda, and so to answer the question of, like, "When did you know that you could actually make this work?" I don't I have evidence because I've done it before. I have evidence that I've done it before, and the Lord has brought so many amazing people into my life, new friends and old friends that are like, "Allison, you've been here before. You know what to do. Like, you got this. No, you're not gonna quit. I'm not gonna let you quit. You're not gonna go work at the library." And I'm like, "Oh, the gas station then?" When they're like, "S Get yourself together." It's like E when she slaps Mrs. Incredible,
Yes,
like Elastigirl,
yes.
"Pull yourself together." And I'm like, "You know what?" But there are those fall apart moments. And before I didn't really honor those fall apart moments. And now I honor the fall apart moments, but I don't let myself wallow in the fall apart moments. Like some days are just crying days because I'm still working on cortisol levels and all of the things. And I'm like, oh, crying is the fastest way to release cortisol. All right. So we're going to have a crying day. We're going to have a crying moment. But the thing that's been so beautiful is that it's turned me to the Lord more and more and more. And like, okay, help me hear better. This is instead of like everything is falling to crap, I'm like, yeah, actually, this is exactly where I'm meant to be right now. So I don't need to beat myself up. I don't need to I'll be honest, I was bagging on the economy and I was bagging on people not being trustworthy like all of this stuff bagging on myself and then I was like, but this this is this is not who I am. Certainly this is not what I teach. And so do I get to take some of the medicine that I offer others?
Mhm,
And that answer some days is no, most days is yes. And it's like, "Oh, I feel better again."
mhm,
I have this wonderful opportunity to be with my grandson all
mhm.
day, Monday through Friday, for an indeterminate for the foreseeable future, and I'm like, "This is a material that I've been given, like, this is what I get to work with."
Mm,
And so, what does this new season of life get to look like?
mhm. Hmm. In one of our episodes with Michael, she talked about this was such a powerful moment, but she talked about how a lot of times what we have to do to get to the next season is we have to let go of the last season. So the season that we're in, and this generally happens in we call it rebuilding phases, right? Which is what a lot of times well, it's what we have here in the Barker household, what we have restructured things to sound like, so it's more optimistic and positive, but we all go through rebuilding
We
phases,
do.
right?
We do.
And life is full of rebuilding. It's full of these opportunities to rebuild, to relook at. But and she just said part of the rebuilding phase is letting go of the last season. And the reason why we're not able to go on to the next season is because we're holding so tight onto that season before. And when we can just let it go and say, "That was so fun. I loved that season. Now it's on to the next season." That's actually where we find the next step or the next step. That's where we find God. "Hey, I've been waiting. I've been waiting for you to let go of that." It's like we're like holding on to the cliff with dear life, like, "No, I'll never let go." And then we finally let go. And instead of dropping to the ground, which is what we actually think is going to happen, God actually lifts us up to the next cliff, right? Not that we're hanging on
Mhm.
it, but he lifts us off and he takes us and we get onto the edge of the cliff and we're able to say, he's like, "I've been up here this whole time, just waiting for you to."
And he's like, "And I'm so happy that you're
Yes,
here. Like,
you did it. Good job.
welcome,
And he's like,
welcome."
"That was hard. That was hard. I know that that was hard. And you worked really hard at X, Y, and Z." And as women, we do go through so many different seasons of life, particularly women. And we talk about this, and I talked about this in the solo podcast this last week, is we're really bad at comparing seasons.
Yeah. Yes,
We
we
love to
are.
compare everybody else's season with a completely different season that we're in, but we also love to compare the current season we're in to another season that we've had. And in
Mhm.
doing so, we lose a lot of joy in the season that we're in, right? I'm
We
just thinking
do.
about, like, if you were still in the race of your how many clients?
97.
97 clients and the all of pro or events you were running
And the
how and the
team, and the
team and
training, and the
all of that,
managing, and
and I
mhm.
see this tiny little baby, and I just think that really is such a blessing that you
Mhm.
have been given the opportunity to be able to be and for your family, that you're
Mhm.
at a place that you can help. I think about it all the time. Amanda, at some point, you're going to have to slow down a little bit because you're going to start having grandbabies and, your kids are going to need you differently. But at some point, it could be more than even when you were raising them little.
Yes, I have found that to be the case.
Yeah,
It's
it's
more in
different.
a different way.
Yeah, yeah. So, anyways, it's interesting. It's interesting. We'll see. That's what I
It's
always think. We'll see.
yes, we'll see. I like that, and I also say, "Maybe, maybe
Yeah, I do. You
everything's
do
gonna
say that. Maybe.
everything is gonna XYZ." It's enter in the catastrophe, like, insert catastrophe. Maybe,
Yeah, it could.
but maybe not.
Right.
Like, and you're gonna be okay through all of that. 2 things I wanna share that it feels important because this just came to my mind, so I know these are nudges. My husband told me when I was in the throes of, like, not wanting to let go of the last season, he said, "Allison, your business might not be okay, but
Huh.
you will be fine. You'll be fine." And to have just his calm certainty with that was a life preserver that he threw to me in that moment that I needed it.
Mhm.
Last week, I had a conversation with one of my best friends, and she said, "I'm tired of proving." And I think this is something to go along with comparison. We're like, we're proving. Have I done enough yet to earn the XYZ that I'm after? And we're always trying to prove that we have a place at the table. We prove our worth. We prove our value. And she was like, "I don't want to prove anymore. I want to signal.
Hmm.
I want to signal." And that has stayed with me. What am I signaling throughout the day to the Lord, to the universe, to my own subconscious? What am I signaling with my thoughts, with my words, with my actions? What am I signaling? Am I signaling faith in Christ and faith in the universal laws? Am I signaling trust? Am I signaling hopelessness? Like, what am I signaling throughout the day? And that has been such a blessing for me because then I can be aware without any judgment and then also know, like, oh, I'm signaling something I don't want to bring the physical form to.
Hmm.
I don't wanna experience the physical form of whatever it is that I'm signaling. I can't trust anybody. You're like,
Yeah,
"Oh, because then I'm a powerful creator, so I'm gonna experience the situation of not being able to trust
sure.
anybody." But what am I signaling
Hmm.
throughout the day?
I absolutely love that. I It was funny, the kids and I keep talking, but I'm not gonna go into it, but just let me tell you, think about the most silliest thing that somebody could possibly think it happened. Um, and I start giggling and I'm telling the kids, and like, "We're have to sell our house," and la 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 la. And I was like, maybe. Maybe. I don't know. I don't understand why you're acting like this. Like, and then one of the girls is like, "Does God even love you?" They're like, "Why do you even try to be a good person at this point? I just feel like you are not loved at all." But what I heard in that is that I'm signaling faith. I'm signaling trust. It's giving me that opportunity because I was laughing. That was uncomfortable to them. I wasn't laughing like, oh, this is whatever. I was like chuckling to myself, like, this is so classic timing, classic life. Like, I see your sense of humor up there, Heavenly Father. But also it gave me the opportunity to say, of course, guys, I've been in business so long. This is a very normal thing for business owners to have to deal with. There are really weird scenarios like this with law. And is the timing great? No, um, but yes, of course, Heavenly Father loves me, and everything's being already prepared for. God knew long before I did that all of these things were kind of transpire. And he has been preparing long before, these circumstances have arisen for to help me move through them. So our job is not to, what does she say? Prove that we can get through stuff. Our job is to signal that we
Mhm.
trust God and we
Yes.
trust his hands in all things.
Yes, and I don't know if you realize you did this, but that when they were like, "Are we gonna lose everything?" You're like, "Maybe." Like, I don't know. You were actually obeying the law of detachment. It's a universal law. The law of detachment says that in order to, like, bring what you want to you, you've gotta be detached about when and how it's going to come, or if it comes at all.
Hmm.
And so you were just like, "Well, here's what it is." So detachment, surrender, those are different interchangeable words to me anyway, that it's just like, "Well, okay, well, all right, here's here's what this
Here's to
is.
another opportunity to learn.
God wants
I
me to
get to
skill up
yes, I
here."
did too.
Like,
I will tell you what, I have learned a lot
yeah.
about certain parameters of when and where and how we can do business. And just for everyone's, if you're worried about it, we're very much aligned, and we are, what's the word? When we follow the rules not alignment, princess. What's the word?
Obedient?
Regulation?
Oh, compliance.
Compliance. Thank you. We are very compliant with all the ways that we do business, but it has been a really good experience in that I have learned a lot. And I didn't know that we were in compliance. I assumed we were in compliance, but we are. And so,
Yay!
yay, celebration. Anyways, it'll all work out, but it has given me a really awesome opportunity to to decide, am I going to prove to my kids that I trust God, or am I going to signal to my kids that I really do trust God and I do trust him even when the timing of things seems a little absurd.
Yes. That's a good word, absurd.
Absurd. All right. Allison, I just want to get a little personal for a second. Obviously we already have, but, and I want you to walk through this with me. Half T. So we've talked about this. Half T is rebuilding. We've stripped everything down. You know it. So Allison is my business coach right now. And so we've walked through a lot of this. And we're rebuilding from a stronger, more aligned place. It really is humbling. It's humbling, particularly when you've been in business as long as I have. You think, "Oh, we've done it all, we've weathered all the storms." And
Mhm.
then no, life says, "Not this one."
Life
And
chuckles.
yeah. But from your perspective, as someone who teaches prosperity through alignment, what does it mean energetically, spiritually, even practically? And I feel like we've kind of already talked about this, but I really want to kind of hone it in. When we go through these seasons of rebuilding, and like we already talked about, we have to rebuild all the time.
Yes.
It's part of the process. It's part of creativity. It's part of and I really feel like as women, it's actually fun for us. There's a lot of women that make a big living on buying piece of crummy houses and rebuilding them and turning them into beautiful things. So
Mhm.
I do feel like it really is something that we almost attract it at certain
Yes.
levels, that we love the challenge,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
But how can we stay in a posture of faith and trust even when things look uncertain on the outside?
Through constant reframing and constant aligning. To your point several minutes ago when you said one of your beliefs was you had to work really, really hard for money. And and w and we have this false belief as well and false narrative that we have to work really, really hard for God to love us
Mhm.
or to feel God's love. That's not true either. God wants us to align. Like that's what makes us feel closer to God is how well are we aligned with him. And so when we have these rebuild times, these wilderness experiences, the crucibles, the refiner's fire, whatever it is that you want to use that actually makes you feel empowered, that's what it is. That's how we get through it is understanding like God's playing a much longer game than we are. And we have this tiny little narrow myopic view of what's going on. And the Lord's like, oh no, you know, I am preparing you for glory beyond your current ability to imagine. And so if that's what this is, and there is greater understanding and there's greater levels of prosperity and peace and wealth in all of its forms in your relationships, in your body, in your level of spirituality and connection with God. I've told God, like, I will go through anything you ask me to go through if that's what's waiting for me on the other side. But in the meantime, I gotta stop making this a hell on earth because of my thoughts, and that's my part. That's my part, is to continually realigning with him, changing my signal if my signal is off, and really striving to have a much, much longer view of this. Like holy cow, people grieve endings. We're not built for endings. We're really not. That's proof that we're eternal beings because
Mhm.
we grieve when a season comes to an end. You grieve when basketball season comes to an end. I mean, there's a part of you that's like, "Oh, hooray, I can
Hallelujah.
rest." But there's another part that's like,
Yeah,
"Oh, man, I'm so sad to see this go." We
sure.
don't like endings to TV shows or movies. Relationship endings are very hard. Death is the hardest ending for us to put our wrap our head around because we are eternal beings. We're not built for endings. That's why it's so hard to let go.
Hmm.
But when we can understand, like, actually, an ending is not an ending at all. It's actually a new beginning. It's a new beginning for something even better. So let's let go of this season so that we have room to receive even more and better for this new beginning that the Lord is preparing us for.
Mm.
And that brings me so much comfort to even tell you, to even like vocalize, like, oh, that's right. This is really what's going on. Like, we're like, everything's fine. God's not freaking out about any of this, and He's got me. He's got me. What's the evidence that He's got me, that He supports me, that He provides for me every single day, all throughout the day? There is deeper work and greater glory that is coming that can only come from this situation. And that gives me the courage to go through it with my head high, with great joyful expectation that I'm going to receive miracles along the way and skill up in all the ways the Lord needs me to skill up at this level to be a more powerful instrument.
One of my favorite things to think about, and I can't remember where I heard it, but, was we have to be patient, right? Trusting in the Lord's timing, I think
Mhm.
is mortality wrapped up in a nice little statement. Trusting in the Lord's
Right.
timing. And but my somebody said, how important it if we even tweaked that just a little bit, the trusting in the Lord's timing and the patient aspect of it should be some of the most exciting times of our life, not the times of our lives that we hate the very most. Because if we truly do trust God, the being the patient in the Lord's timing should be the most exciting anticipation is kind of like should be Christmas Eve in that like we're waiting for Christmas so that we can see what Santa brought or open the presents, our birthdays, those sort of places where we're receiving these gifts and we're excited to open them. That truly is in essence similar to when we're being patient with God's timing. Because the gift on the other side of that should excite and should bring a lot of anticipation, not as much anxiety as sometimes it does.
Yeah, yeah, and you bring up a really good point. It's the law of gestation,
Mhm.
which is the law of gestation. Everything has a finite period that it needs to gestate. Like my little 2-month-old grandbaby needed 9 months of gestation in order to be fully baked. I had a baby 3 months early.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, that was really, really scary. He didn't have a sucking reflex. That wasn't developed yet. His lungs weren't fully developed yet. They had to give him a steroid shot. Like gestation is really, really important. In gestation, if things aren't here yet, one of two things is going on. You're not ready to receive it yet, or there are more moving pieces than you understand in this wonderful game of creation that we're part of, this co-creation game. Like you're not ready and it's not quite ready for you.
Hmm.
Like, oh, okay. Like the Thanksgiving is coming up. We don't want to like cook the turkey for 20 minutes. We don't want to cook a 20-pound
We don't
cookie.
wanna start cooking the turkey today.
No, no, we don't. Like there's this fight and it will come to an end. Will come to an end. Elephants are pregnant for 3 years. Mice are pregnant for 2 weeks. There's some of our dreams have a longer gestation period than others. We don't get to say how long the gestation period is because I really think when we're like, "Okay, God, I've learned the lesson now, like, get me out of the wilderness. I'm so grateful for everything in my life, but change it all now," right? I used to pray, quote, unquote, "gratitude prayers" like that, which, had nothing to do with gratitude. But when it was like, "You know what? There is actually wealth for me in this wilderness." And if God ended this too soon, it would actually be to my detriment. If he just, like, plopped $1,000,000 on my doorstep, and I didn't have the capacity or the maturity to be able to understand how to actually use that to bless my life and bless others' lives, that would not be a blessing, that would be more of a curse that God would give me.
It'd be very short term.
It would be. It would be, and we're here to co-create. And so, like, what do we do while the cookies are baking or while the brownies are baking? Are we cleaning up the kitchen? Do we keep opening the oven? No, if we do that, it takes longer for the cookies or the brownies to bake, and with a cake, the cake falls. So, like, what do we do in the interim? Well, we work on our thoughts. We have that joyful expectation. Every day is Christmas Eve.
Mhm.
It's that, like, expecting things to work out. Like, how is God gonna surprise me today? In dazzling and delightful
Yes,
ways.
that's one of my affirmations that Allison helped me write is God shows up for me. It is one of your like it's one of the affirmations you said to me, and I was like, I love this, but I write it in my journal every day. It's God shows up for me in ways that dazzle and delight, and that is a very and I look for that. I look for those tiny little opportunities to say, "Oh, thanks for dazzling and delighting me today, Heavenly Father. That was fun."
Yeah, do you know how he dazzles and delights me? If I have to merge and get from one lane of traffic, like, all the way, like, 3 lanes over,
Mhm.
and I'm like, open up space," and, like, boom, 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 it does it. I'm like, "That was dazzling. Thank you." And I am delighted. Like, nothing is too small to count.
I agree.
Nothing is too small to
Exactly, I
count.
agree. Okay, we've talked a ton about feminine energy, about creating from a place of flow and not push, which is so important. For women listening who are trying to build, raise families, and still stay grounded, what's the first small shift they can make today?
I think I think the most effective shift is coming at things from, the lens of rest. And what I mean by that is, like, slowing down our thoughts. If we've got a really I've got a client I'm working with right now who is in a very, very full season of her business, and she's launching and it's very, very exciting, but it's very, very fast, and she moves from one call and one project to the next, to the next, to the next, and she was like, "How do I do this in feminine energy?" And I'm like, "Oh, well, first we gotta create rest in our mind. We've gotta and the way that we do that is through our intention. Like, I'm in fast flow right now. If you're raising your family, you're building your business, you're living your dreams, or it, working towards those dreams, it can feel like there is so much to do, and oftentimes there is a whole lot to do. But if you can quiet your mind throughout the day, and you do that by just, like, taking a breath, and you can squeeze your hands, tap your arms, is like get into your body rather than in your head all the time, and that not only does that reset your nervous system, but that actually gives your mind rest for 30 seconds. That's really all it takes,
Mhm.
like, honestly. And if you'll do that a little bit throughout the day, you will find flow coming so much easier and so much more naturally, even when your life when the flow is fast, and even when there's fast footwork that's going on in your life.
I love it. So, for instance, mom, throngs of motherhood, raising little kids, putting out one fire to the next, dun, dun,
Mhm,
dun, dun, right? Just
mhm,
constantly. So just simply taking 30 seconds, 1 minute, maybe you give like because you showed me, and what Allison did was she kind of hugged herself, right?
mhm,
And then just a big deep breath.
mhm.
It kind of signals to your body, hey, you're here. Like, be here.
Yeah,
And let's just breathe. And that automatically is a very small, simple step to just help you find peace
rest
and rest.
and
Okay,
rest.
rest
Coming from a place of rest and flow.
and flow.
That's how you can engage the flow and then ride that flow throughout the day.
Okay, I love it. All right. So looking back now, I mean, Yeah, I want you to think, what was God teaching you in that first season of
Mhm.
struggle?
He was teaching me so much. He was teaching me about how much he loved me. He was teaching me about it's okay to make mistakes, that mistakes are not fatal. He was teaching me to stop judging myself and others. He was teaching me about what's really important and how powerful I am. We have these control we claim to be control freaks. I think most of us, especially entrepreneurs, are like, "I'm a control freak." But we're trying to control the wrong thing. But we can absolutely let our control freak flag fly when we're controlling the things that are within our realm to control, which is our thoughts, which is getting grounded again in our body, being intentional. Those are things that are well within our control. The when, the how, the timeline, all of that is beyond our control. But in the meantime, oh, wow, we can have joy in the moment, no matter what the moment looks
I love that. Recently, probably in the last 6 months, I've changed how I pray. Before I'd pray for things that were happening in 2 weeks from now. Please, I mean, the 6 months ago, Amanda would already be praying that tryouts for basketball season went really well, and that when Cody comes home in 2 weeks, she gets here safely, and, you know, pre-praying for things that are not. But I really I've been trying so hard to just pray for the things today, like in my morning prayers. I would think about all the little things that I've gotta get done in the day, and I just pray about those, and then at the end of the day, I think about all the things that went well, during that day, and what's happened is what I've noticed is that, I'm very present in my day, and
like. Mhm.
right? I become very present, but what I also notice is that, I'm actually far more prepared for things that are happening, like for that thing that is happening in 2 weeks. I'm far more prepared. This season of basketball, I am way more prepared than I ever have been 2 weeks before. And that's because I've every day I pray, "Hey, help me follow the nudges that I need to do today that will help me, with what the things that I'm responsible for." And I don't even say it specifically. I don't say whatever.
Mhm.
But because I'm so present in the day, I'm able to better listen and know what needs to happen today. And then I will get to the place and I'm like, crap, I don't, what did I, what, it's here. And all of a sudden I realize, Amanda, you're ready. You've been preparing for this day, but one day at a time,
Yes.
doing the little things that need to happen every single day. And it's been a very fun experiment um, to be present
Mhm.
and to learn and to recognize that those tiny little nudges add up to preparation. And that most of the time preparation, I don't even know how this fits in now, but most of the time preparation isn't it doesn't have to be a chaos storm,
No.
right? Most of the time preparation is happening in tiny little steps. And it's fun to be able to look back and be like, "Oh," and we talked about it's funny how the same themes keep popping up, but same conversation. But about how when we are able to turn around and look around, that struggle that we quote unquote call a struggle was actually some of the most beautiful pictures, beautiful experiences that we've ever had, within the process, and that's a beautiful thing,
It is.
beautiful thing. Alright, we're gonna do a lightning round.
Okay.
Quick, quick, quick few little questions for you. What's one prosperity practice you can do in 60 seconds?
What's working for me right now?
Mm,
Or this means I'm wealthy.
mm,
I have water within my reach. This means I'm wealthy. I have internet connection. This means I'm wealthy. I have electricity. The smaller you can get, the better it is that your brain gets evidence of how you're already wealthy, in physical ways and non-physical ways and financial ways and non-financial ways. And that actually starts retraining your brain and your nervous system, to start attracting more wealth.
ooh, I love it. I One of the things that is abundance. We talk a lot you and I talk about a lot about abundance, and one of the things that I visualize or that is a physical thing for me to see is to prove that there is abundance all around me is I look at the trees and I see I can't even count the amount of leaves, or I look at the grass and I say, "Oh, I can't even count the amount of blades of grass." That's proof to me that I am surrounded by abundance. So that
I'm just looking at your family photo.
Oh, that's
And I
true.
mean, I can count, but there's a lot of people in
Yeah.
that family photo,
Yeah.
and that is abundance of love, abundance of relationships. You got trees in there, like, oh my gosh, yeah, you're
Surrounded by abundance.
surrounded by it.
I love it. Okay.
Mhm.
What is a scripture or phrase that keeps you grounded?
Right now, it's Exodus 14:14. I, the Lord, will fight for you, and you will hold your peace.
Oh, he's battling and we can have
Yep,
our peace because
yep.
he's in.
That's my job. That's my job in the battle is to hold my peace.
Oh,
Hold my peace.
I love that.
Yep. Let
One
him
thing
fight.
you're currently learning to receive.
Help,
Mm.
help from others. Um, Tenderness from others. And allowing myself to receive um, other people's assistance in days that feel dark to me.
Mm. And then a piece of evidence to your younger self. Oh,
A piece
not
of
evidence.
advice. A piece of evidence to my younger self.
A piece
You will
of
survive perimenopause.
a piece of advice to your younger self.
A piece of advice to my younger self. Invest in Google and Amazon and Tesla.
I love it. I don't believe you could have told me. You could have said, "What do you think Alice is going to say?" I would have never guessed that in 100 guesses. But I love it. I love it. If anything other than investments, what else would you leave to your younger self?
To my younger self, I would say, "Hey, hun, it's all going to work out. So you need to look at ways that it's already working out,
Mm,
and it works out even better than you can imagine."
I love it. I love all of that. It does. It always works out. It always has and it always will. And we
Mhm.
are living proof that it still is.
Yes.
I love it.
Yes, we are.
Allison, you've taught me and so many women that prosperity isn't something we chase.
No.
It's something we allow. And I love thinking about that. Thank you for sharing your story. Thank you for being vulnerable, your faith, and your wisdom with us today. For everyone listening, you can go connect with Allison at AllisonChavez.com or listen to are you gonna change the name of your podcast?
So I have started a new podcast called The Obedient Rebel,
Okay,
but
awesome.
I've got over 200 episodes from the Prosperity Approach. So you can go to YouTube or any place that you listen to your podcasts, and you can search the Prosperity Approach or The Obedient Rebel, and you'll find me.
Okay, that's perfect. And I've listened to a lot of her episodes and they are 100% worth listening to. I'm just looking at my 13-year-old. Oh, I was judging you, wondering why you were drinking a Red Bull, but now I just completely threw myself under the bus.
She said, "It's for you."
That's actually amazing. Okay, anyways, coming back again, squirrel. Remember, when women support each other with intention, we rise together. So until next time, let your choices shape the world you want to see and love every layer of your life.